Hey everybody, back again and want to do another video on how I've made money on the internet, right? So again, I'm a failed entrepreneur for a reason. I've done and tried a lot of different things on the internet, and even though nothing's really had a ton of success, if you name it, I've probably done it some way, somehow. And there's a lot of ways to make money online, which is kind of what this channel was kind of going to be about in the beginning. Now it's kind of a mix of politics and pop culture and whatever I feel like doing. But again, I do want to try and keep this focused on entrepreneurship and stuff like that, and just business and internet internet stuff. So anyway, lots of ways to make money online, and I think this was actually one of the first, maybe the first way I ever made money online, and that was just simply writing articles for a website, right? So I had gotten in, this was years ago, I was in the middle of my screenwriting fix, right? Like my free time at the time was devoted towards screenplays and screenwriting, storycraft, all that stuff. So I was in a writing mode and was going around, I think I was at work and was messing around on Reddit. Anyway, somehow I stumbled across some kind of writing job forum or subreddit or something like that. People looking for work, or like odd jobs, like gigs or something, right? And someone had posted, they were looking for writers to help create content for a dark web based website that they were running. And I was like, okay. So I responded to the job offer. Guy actually got back to me and hired me to write some articles for him, right? So again, moral of the story is you never have any idea what kind of opportunities await you if you don't put yourself out there and even like apply or attempt or contact those people who are looking for help and assistance, right? Had I never answered this guy's Reddit post, never would have got paid, never would have had a little small paycheck. I think it was a couple paychecks. Anyway, you never know if you don't try. So I've never really written any articles or blogs before at the time, but just my experience being a screenwriter was enough for this guy. Yeah, excuse me, I'll pay you to write some content. So anyway, you never know if you don't try. So basically the way it was set up is this guy had a website or an app, this was a while ago, or software or something that kind of monitored and checked the Agora marketplace on the dark web. Okay, like I said, I had no idea what any of this is, so I had to educate myself, and I'll educate you. The dark internet, the dark web, is a huge piece of the internet that most people have no access to. It's the internet under the internet, right? A lot of it is nefarious websites, I guess you could say. Silk Road was a very famous kind of like dark web eBay. It's been closed down, comes back, it's closed down, comes back, where you can go and buy a lot of illegal things, counterfeit goods, drugs, prostitution, weapons, hitmen supposedly, where you could buy assassinations on there. Because it was on the dark web, it's hard to track this, and of course they used cryptocurrency to pay for these transactions because it's kind of hard to monitor and to track. Anyway, other things on dark web is like, the public library server, right? When you go to the library and you log into their book catalog, right? Well, maybe you can now. Anyway, you can't normally in the past, like you couldn't access that unless you were there, right? Or like say police department and their closed server and their database, like that's all dark web too, right? It's just anything internet that's not on Google, there you go, would kind of be that. Agora was a alternative to the Silk Road. So this was a couple years ago. Silk Road was, I think, closed down, or when it closed down, there was a lot of other smaller dark web marketplaces that kind of sprang up and took its place. Agora was one of the bigger ones. Agora is the name for a marketplace in ancient Greece, so kind of fitting that they called it that. But anyway, kind of like it was the trendy up and coming version of Silk Road, where people could go and buy a lot of illicit things online. But I guess Agora was very, what's the word? Not untrustworthy. I always do that. I can't think of it. It was very up and down. Like it would come online. It would unpredictable. There we go. Whatever. No edits here. Unpredictable is that sometimes the marketplace would be live and then it would shut down, and so it was tricky to do commerce on there because it was the marketplace even open, I guess, was the question. So this guy's app just basically kind of tracked the status of Agora. Was it online? Was it down? But he got a lot of traffic because a lot of people were checking on the status, and he wanted to try and grow this little website of his with content to build up his SEO and to try and get more traffic to his site because he was running ads and stuff on there. So that was my job. And again, I knew none of this when he brought me on. So the idea was I would write a couple articles for him. The guy pretty much gave me free reign to do whatever. He just wanted content. He wanted keywords. So I was like, well, because I'm kind of a noob on this, let me go and write some articles kind of as a first timer, like exploring what is the dark web and what is Agora and how do you use it and what is it like from like a newcomer's perspective. So I downloaded, I think Tor is one of the, you need a special browser to access the dark web. So downloaded this software called Tor off the internet and was able to log on and get on there pretty easily. And then, so wrote an article just kind of talking about dark web as a whole, again, what constitutes it. I think like 90% of the internet is actually the dark web. The surface level stuff we see on Google is just such a small piece of what is really out there online, and some of the websites that are on there, and just kind of an article just explaining what the dark web basically was. I did a second article then on Agora and what is Agora, and like had some screenshots of it, and just kind of, again, what, kind of like a little bit of Silk Road and its history and how Agora was kind of up and coming and the new hot gotta go to dark web marketplace to go and buy things. So again, just kind of the history on Agora, where, no one really knows where it comes from, but just kind of how it works, what does it do, stuff like that. And then he wanted me to write, I think, 2 more articles. And I was like, well, I talked about the history of the dark web. I talked about Agora already. This is an Agora-based website, so I'm not talking about cookie recipes or something like that. So I wrote 2 articles, just kind of, again, exploring Agora and all the stuff that you could, could buy on there, basically. So I went on there, and again, super inexperienced with all of this stuff, and just kind of looking at some of the products that were listed online, and like, oh, this is kind of interesting, kind of like a guided tour of this place. So picked like 3 or 4 listings, and just like, here's an interesting thing. It was a hideaway, like a little Red Bull can, stash away, whatever. It looked like a Red Bull can, but you could like open it up and hide your paraphernalia in there, and like, oh, that's interesting. Some of the drugs that were offered on there, like knockoff. What's the sex drug? The blue pill. What is that? I cannot think today. Right? The blue pill sex drug knockoff, whatever it's called. I think it starts with a P. A lot of marijuana, weed type of shit on there. Harder drugs, cocaine, little bag. I guess you could buy that and stuff on there as well. Firearms, receivers, silencers. That was on there. What else was on there? You could buy, what else could you buy on Agora? This is so long ago. Papers. You could buy like essays and thesis papers people were selling online. Oh, IDs and driver's licenses were huge. So if you need to get like a fake ID made, someone would make it off the dark web for you on Agora. What else? I didn't find any like hitmen or assassins. There was a lot of sex stuff on there as well, but I don't think I got into that too much because, again, this guy, I mean, I don't know if he cared or not, but he probably doesn't want that on his website. So try to keep it somewhat tasteful, and I don't want to be looking at that stuff anyways. But like I said, wrote about 4 articles, kind of, researching and explaining what these things are. And the guy published them, and he paid me. He paid me in Bitcoin. That's how I got my very first Bitcoin. And so for these articles, I think I ended up getting in total $500 for this work, right? And it was maybe like a night's work for each article, right? I do write a little bit slow sometimes, and I was researching and writing at the same time. So maybe like $100 an article. Maybe that's what it was. But man, at the time, that was like half a Bitcoin. So I had to open up a Bitcoin account, and I think the guy lived in England, and he deposited 0.50 Bitcoin into my account. Like, oh, cool, awesome. But had to end up selling it to pay electricity a couple months later. Really wish I would have kept on to that because, man, it would have been really sweet to get paid like $5,000 is probably what that Bitcoin would be worth today had I kept on to it for $5,000 for 4 articles. How awesome would that be, right? But yeah, I mean, like I said, you can make money on the internet just by writing things. And so if you have any extra free time, if it's a skill you want to get better at, go out there and look. There's tons of people looking for help. Facebook groups, Reddit, forums, message boards, you name it. Writing takes time. It's something that not, if you're running a business, you really don't have time to go and blog every single day, at least not good content. So there's a lot of opportunities for writers out there. And if you want to make a couple extra bucks, I don't know if I can make that a full-time job, but you can make money online just by writing articles for others. So, all right, that's it for today. That's pretty much the end of that story. But $5,000 for 4 articles would have been nice. All right, I got to go. I got stuff to do. I know you do too. So I'll catch you later.